this, but this is the capper because this is, again, the biggest tax cut, biggest reform of all time.
That was President Trump Friday, patting himself on the back for finishing the year strong. But Obama officials stung that their legacy is in tatters. All came out of nowhere this week, trying to rehab their former boss and attacking the sitting president. Here's Joe Biden with a whopper.
I've never met any president that has more character, more integrity, and more backbone than this guy does. It was an honor serving with him. And 8 years, not a hint, a scandal.
Wow. Joining me now, Fox News contributor, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. So, I mean, just off the top of my head, the VA scandal, people died waiting in line to get service and care, and you have the IRS, you have Benghazi, Fast and Furious, the list goes on and on.
Well, it's good to be with you. Merry Christmas, Jesse. And you're absolutely right. When I hear what former Vice President Joe Biden said, first of all, in 2013, President Obama was awarded with the PolitiFact Lie of the Year for his statement about people being able to keep their doctor and keep their insurance when it came to Obamacare. So that kind of takes away this whole thing about integrity. But you just brought up a series of incredible events, and you did not add in the new Black Panther voter intimidation case, which somehow went away. But when you think about Fast and Furious, where we saw U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry lose his life. You think about all the veterans that lost their lives in the VA scandal, and you think about the 4 Americans and the others who were wounded during Benghazi. These were very serious incidents, but yet no one was ever held accountable. No one ever really took any responsibility, and that continues to be a blight on the face of the American people and, of course, the Obama administration.
Because actually, Eric Holder
easily dismissed.
Was held in contempt for not being forthcoming with the Congress with regards to Fast and Furious. And now there's a new scandal that's brewing. Politico reported that because the Obama administration was so desperate to cut a deal with the Iranians that they let a bunch of Hezbollah arms dealers and cocaine traffickers off the hook. And, I mean, these people tried to kill Americans. They're pushing drugs into the country. That's going to be investigated now, we're hearing.
Well, it has to be investigated, and those of us that have been following national security issues, especially down in the Southern Command in South America, know that Iran has been supporting Hezbollah, which is their terrorist proxy army, for quite some time to get a foothold into South America. But for those Americans that have forgotten, before there was al-Qaeda in 1983, the largest incident of a terrorist attack resulting in American deaths, 243 Marines, sailors, and soldiers lost their lives in the Beirut bombing, and that was Hezbollah. And the fact that we have a president that was putting pressure on our drug enforcement agency to stop an investigation of Hezbollah drug and gun smuggling so that they could get through the Iranian nuclear agreement, which we know the Iranians have not been adhering to whatsoever, that is very disconcerting.
Not only disconcerting, it's corrupt because the rest of the press won't cover it. And that's why someone like Biden can get away with saying that he's been scandal-free, because no one's even going to challenge him. The fact that you're sitting across from the former vice president and he comes out with a blatant lie like that, he can get away with it on the network shows, but he can't get away with it here. I want to talk to you about Susan Rice, former national security official for President Obama. Really, she should not be the one criticizing anybody. After President Trump unveiled his national security strategy, she said this, quote, "Relinquishing the nation's moral authority in these difficult times will only embolden rivals and weaken ourselves. It will make a mockery of the very idea of America first." So, Lieutenant Colonel, you know, when 4 Americans were left to die and not rescued on the anniversary of 9/11 in Benghazi, that was not putting America first. She has no legs to stand on here.
No, absolutely, and that is almost a self-fulfilling prophecy of her own tenure as the National Security Advisor. Think about it. This is the exact same Susan Rice that said that the United States of America needs to live with a nuclear North Korea. In other words, she continues to advocate for the strategic patience policy and strategy of Barack Obama. And when you think about the lack of regard and respect that we have, and I served in the military for 22 years, that was horribly diminished. You think about what President Trump has been able to do in less than a year, and that is to reduce the entire territorial Trump has been able to do in less than a year, and that is to reduce the entire territorial integrity of the Islamic State, something that Barack Obama came out and talked about in his strategy, but he never accomplished it, and he kept telling us that something was coming and he was going to take an action. So I think that we are seeing, as you mentioned earlier, is a complete reversal of the previous 8 years, and this is something that is not sitting well, to include an economy that is, clicking along at 3.2% gross domestic product when the President Obama never even hit 2%.
That's true. And America First is the exact opposite of leading from behind, which Susan Rice was the architect of. Let's get into some other Obama officials. Here's the last one. So this is unbelievable. You have a photo, and this is a tweet from Dan Pfeiffer, and this was what he said. Here it is. I hope this is the photo they use on the front page of the Times on the day Trump is indicted. Oh, that's very nice. And then Ben Rhodes, former national security guy for Obama, said, and alongside the obits for Ryan, McConnell, and Pence. Really, the obits. And Steve Scalise responded, as you know, who was shot by a crazed left-wing maniac. You may want to reconsider your rhetoric. So, if you're out there and you're an Obama guy and you're talking about the obituaries for Trump people, come on, right? I mean, this is not in the season, Ben.
Well, one of the things you have to come to understand is when you have senior leaders and officials that are, espousing this type of rhetoric, then there's always going to be someone out there that takes action. And unfortunately, we saw Steve Scalise be the victim of said rhetoric. But we have to move beyond this, and let's have the conversation about policy. Let's have the conversation about issues. This cannot continue to be about demonizing people, showing the commercials of a Paul Ryan pushing grandmother off the cliff, or talking about how Republicans and their solutions to offer. And I hate to see that happening here in the United States of America, because we have tried, the previous 8 years, and that did not yield us the results, being it our economy, being it our military, our foreign policy, whatever. So it's time for us to look at a different way to move forward.
Well, hopefully we can all come together in the Christmas season. Looks like you've come together in the Christmas season with that vest.
Well, I only get to wear it once a year.
That's a
and so it's all for you, Jesse.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
All right. Up next, Dave Chappelle playing the race card.
I've never had a problem with white people ever in my life. But full disclosure, the poor whites are my least favorites.
I need you right now. So don't let me down. I think I'm losing my mind.
My favorite part of my job is meeting new people. People come in as customers and they leave as family.
With that vest.
Well, I only get to wear it once a year.
That's a
and so
festive
it's all for you, Jesse.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
All right. Up next, Dave Chappelle playing the race card.
I've never had a problem with white people ever in my life. But full disclosure, the poor whites are my least favorites.
I need you right now. So don't let me down. I think I'm losing my mind.
My favorite part of my job is
Storm now stands at 120, and 160 others are still missing. The storm blew across the southern part of the Philippines, setting off landslides and causing flooding. It struck as people were gathering for Christmas preparations, a peak travel time. Forecasters say the storm will not blow away from the island until tomorrow. Funeral services were held today for a California firefighter who lost his life fighting the Thomas Fire, now the largest fire in state history. Corey Iverson was remembered as a devoted family man who did not hesitate to do his job. He leaves behind his pregnant wife and 2-year-old daughter. Iverson died of smoke inhalation and burns 9 days ago. Governor Jerry Brown was among the mourners at Rock Church in San Diego. I'm Molly Line. Now back to Watters World. For your headlines, go to foxnews.com.
The left taking any opportunity to attack President Trump, including his use of Merry Christmas. Here's CNN's Don Lemon.
Let's remember, President Trump isn't the only president who says Merry Christmas. President Obama and the First Lady Michelle Obama said it many, many times. President who says Merry Christmas, President Obama and the First Lady Michelle Obama said it many, many times. This is a dog whistle to the base because no one has ever stopped saying Merry Christmas.
Joining me now to discuss is RNC spokeswoman Kayleigh McEnany and contributor at The Federalist, Britt McHenry. So, Kayleigh, he's basically saying when the president says Merry Christmas and emphasizes that now he's saying that again, it's signaling to his white supporters what exactly?
It's a ridiculous assertion to call that a dog whistle. It's the term Merry Christmas. And the reason President Trump says it so boldly is because the last president, President Obama, was the president who removed crucifixes before he spoke at Georgetown University, attacked the Little Sisters of the Poor, only to be rebuked by the Supreme Court. Christians were under attack in this country. Their rights were not respected. They could not live freely and openly without government intrusion. So that's what he means when he says it boldly, that we can celebrate now.
And as a veteran of the war on Christmas, because you know I was on the front lines for many years for the last 10 or 12 years in the field. This was happening in the country. It was department stores, it was schools, it was a cultural phenomenon. And now it looks like you can say Merry Christmas again, and a lot of people aren't super PC about it. And that's what this is all about. It's political correctness.
But the media will never give that credit.
That's true. And you're right. In the 8 years under President Obama, all of his Christmas cards said
President Donald Trump's tweets. The fact of the matter is there's reason to say that. On their official holiday card, the Obamas said just that, Happy Holidays.
Right.
The Trumps have said Merry Christmas. You went there. I was recently at the White House, had the blessed opportunity to be there. It was
these
beautiful.
dumb, poor
Melania
white
Trump
Trump
did an amazing job.
Are
But of
just
course,
getting hoodwinked. Do you take this seriously or not?
No, I do take this very seriously. You know, we live in a society where liberals like to groupify people. They're the ones that are race conscious, putting people in groups based on their socioeconomic status. This was completely over the line. Imagine if this was reversed and a white comedian said this about another racial or ethnic group.
You could never say it.
He would be scrutinized as he should. You could never say it. This is ridiculous. And, you know, let's move on to a society where we can judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, like Martin Luther King hoped for.
That's true. I just don't want to get too uptight about it because he is a comedian and it was kind of funny. But he's crossing into the political zone, Britt. And you know, when you're a comedian, you cross over into politics, there's going to be a little blowback.
yeah, he should call Chelsea Handler and Jimmy Kimmel, and they can all have a group therapy session about where their ratings are going by attacking President Trump and the voters. I just think that he should actually thank those poor whites that he allegedly doesn't like. They're his least favorite people, because electing Trump and the economy we now have, it's the lowest unemployment rate for Black Americans in 17 years. So really, maybe he should be grateful for those people he condemns so much.
Yeah, he's just pushing the left-wing narrative that the tax cut's going to help out companies. But as we said at the top of the show, you know, those tax cuts and those corporations, you're getting $1,000 bonus checks for the holidays.
Yep.
Those go right into workers' pockets. All right, so again, the left not having a lot of success on the policy front, continuing to play the race card. This is what some Huffington Post guy said when President Trump did the whole, you know, gala congratulating himself about the tax cut, and Black Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina was standing by. Quote, "What a shocker. There's one black person there." And sure enough, they have him standing right next to the mic like a manipulated prop. Way to go, Senator Tim Scott. And the senator responded and basically buried him. Here he goes. Probably because I helped write the bill for the past year. Have multiple provisions included. Got multiple senators on board over the last week and have worked on tax reform my entire time in Congress. But if you'd rather just see my skin color, please feel free. So this is a white liberal, Kayleigh, trying to play the race card on a black guy. Didn't work out too well.
Didn't work out. I think he actually apologized for that, as he should have.
He did.
But this is a good case study for the liberal worldview. They look at everything through the purview of race and gender. When they see Tim Scott, that is what they saw. They saw his race. They didn't see his achievement. They didn't see the fact that he has one of the greatest conservative records on the Hill, that he worked tirelessly for this. They looked at him for his race. It is sad. We should reject this type of thinking. And I can promise you, if this was a conservative that had done this, he probably would have lost his job.
Yeah, it's total hypocrisy. And you make a good point. I don't know what the Democratic Party believes when it comes to border security. I don't know what they believe when it comes to health care or taxes or defeating ISIS. I do know that the Democratic Party thinks Trump's racist. That's about it, Britt.
Well, that's the card they always throw out. And I find it funny that Ryder, in his apology, said he should have expressed his view differently. How much different are you going to express that? You're trying to discredit a man who put hours and excessive time into significant tax reform. If you're going to focus on race, why don't you highlight that he was the first black senator elected in the South since Reconstruction? Why don't you highlight he's an evangelical Christian and all the great things he's done to the community, as Kayleigh mentioned? But no, it's always for insults, and look how that's working for the Democrats right now.
Right. Well, when you play the race card, it's usually the last card you have left to play. Ladies, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
That's not a dog
Merry
whistle.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right, up next, a UFO sighting. Here at a UFO convention in Arizona. And now UFOs are back in the news. The New York Times reported the Pentagon spent $22 million researching the existence of unidentified flying objects. And my next guests say they've even had this unforgettable encounter with one. They're former Navy pilot Commander David Fravor and former Navy pilot Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate. Okay, so Jim, I want to begin with you. I don't think you've discussed this before. You saw something while you were out in the air, and tell us about it.
Sure. Hi, Jesse. And actually, it's Commander Slate. I retired as a commander. I was a lieutenant commander at the time. We were out flying off of the Nimitz, just doing a standard training hop. We took a vector and headed east towards, heading towards Mexico or the San Diego area. As we approached and we're looking around, we actually noticed down below, just above the surface of the water, was really what's best described as a Tic Tac.
So when you were looking at this Tic Tac, what were you feeling? Was it something that you knew wasn't anything you'd ever seen before? Were you curious? What went through your mind?
My initial thought was, well, maybe it was a submarine, and it had launched a missile or something.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because we're looking at it right now, and it does not look like a missile from a sub. David, you were there as well. What was your encounter like? Were you confused? Were you scared? What went through your head?
No, and I think when I first saw it, and Jim and I saw it at about the same time, was what is it first? And then the curiosity of, let's go see if we can get closer to it and see what it really is. And that's when it started to, I won't say interact with us, but it started to mirror our flight path and start to climb towards us as we descended towards it.
Did you feel nervous when that behaved that way?
No, I was, you're kind of, I don't know, maybe adrenaline kicked in, and it's something you've never seen. It's got flight characteristics of stuff you've never seen, and you want to see what it is, so I just tried to get closer.
Neither of you guys ever felt threatened by it, correct?
No.
No, I mean, no.
Okay. And when you went back to your superiors, did they think you were crazy? Did they file a report? Because everybody knows men in the military, usually pretty evidence-based, as you said. Jim, and you guys come out there with this video and unidentified flying object. Were you a little nervous about telling people? They might think you're crazy.
I'll say, I don't think I was worried about telling anyone. It was more of, we knew we were going to catch a lot of grief on the ship for seeing something like this. But no one, I don't think anyone played it off, because they had been tracking them for 2 weeks. And this was the first time that manned airplanes had been airborne when they showed up.
All right, so last question, and we only have a few more seconds. Do you believe in aliens from outer space, yes or no?
It's certainly possible.
It's possible. Okay, Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I believe that. I don't think we're alone.
Okay. All right, well, listen, you heard it here first, and the evidence is right there. It is an unidentified flying object. I don't know if it was an alien or an ET driving it, but we're definitely curious about what's going on, and we just hope President Trump declassifies all the UFO files. You know, he did JFK, now we're waiting for Area 51. Gentlemen, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jesse. To you too, Jesse.
Up next, this 3-year-old girl taking on Santa Claus.
Better not show, better not cry. This guy's standards way too high.
Santa baby, just slip a sable under the tree.
Patrick woke up with back pain, but he has work to do, so he took a leave. If he'd taken Tylenol, he'd be stopping for more pills right now.
Presents on Christmas. But one 3-year-old skeptic is catching on and thinks there may be something more to old St. Nick.
So I'm supposed to meet Santa at the mall. You mean Santa, the dude Mom mentions? To Mom looking at me. Yeah, peeps, we know the deal. This ain't my first rodeo. He knows when I'm sleeping, he knows when I'm awake. First off, this guy has no life. And, that's really creepy. Better not show, better not cry. This guy's standards way too high.
Joining me now, Mila Stauffer and her mom, Katie. So, Mila, do you believe in Santa Claus?
Yeah.
You do. But you think there needs to be some improvements with the way Santa delivers the toys?
Yeah.
What would you like to see Santa do to make things better?
I don't know.
You don't know?
More presents.
Presents.
Presents? What are you going to be asking for Christmas this year?
I don't know.
You don't know? You didn't make a list or anything like that? Oh, what was that?
Yeah.
LOL dolls.
LOL dolls.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to play another video of you when you actually had some advice for how Santa could be more efficient. Let's hear that.
Drones are the future, people. I'll have those babies flying around the world. Wrapping presents like Christmas will be efficient and productive. Forget leaving Santa's cookies. These Duracell batteries for the drones. Anna is naughty and nice with a simple and nice shirts.
So, Mila, have you been naughty or nice this year?
Uh-huh.
You have?
You're naughty or nice.
Katie, do you agree?
Yeah.
She's been pretty good, but
yeah.
It's been an interesting year.
It has been. So you're a big internet star, Mila. How does it feel to be so famous?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, I have to say, you are probably one of the cutest little girls I've ever seen.
I eat pizza.
You eat pizza? Okay, well, listen, pizza's delicious. When you're my age, you can't eat too much of it because you'll start looking like Santa. But at your age, you can eat as much pizza as you want. So, listen, Merry Christmas, Mila. And I'm glad you believe in Santa Claus. And Katie, thank you for raising such a cute daughter.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having us.
All right, Merry Christmas, you guys.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, up next, last call.
Hallelujah. Girl, sit your hallelujah. 'Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. 'Cause Uptown